In the vibrant chaos of Manila, a cardinal with a radiant smile and a heart as boundless as the Pacific rides a jeepney shares meals with street vendors and consoles typhoon survivors. Luis Antonio Tagle, affectionately known as Chito, is no ordinary prince of the church. At 67, this Filipino prelate has captured global attention, blending intellectual rigor with a pastoral warmth that disarms skeptics and inspires millions. As Pope Francis, now 88 and visibly frail, nears the end of his transformative papacy, the Catholic Church stands at a pivotal moment. With 1.4 billion faithful, it grapples with secularism, internal divisions, and a shifting center of gravity toward the global South. Who can lead this ancient institution into a vibrant future? Tagle, often called the Asian Francis, shines as a beacon of hope. His infectious joy, rooted in faith and service, could redefine the papacy. From his humble roots to his Vatican prominence, Tagle's story is one of a shepherd ready to guide a global flock. In 4 chapters, we'll explore why Cardinal Luis Tagle is the ideal candidate to become the next pope, a leader to heal, unite, and inspire.
Before we delve in deeper, please take 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on similar videos. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Back to our discussion.
Chapter 1. The Shepherd from the South. Luis Antonio Tagle was born on June 21, 1957 in Manila, Philippines, to a middle-class Catholic family. His father, a bank clerk, and his mother, a homemaker, raised him in a faith shaped by Filipino resilience and devotion. Growing up in a nation where 80% of 110 million people are Catholic, Tagle witnessed both vibrant piety and stark poverty, experiences that defined his ministry and grounded him in a spirituality centered on the marginalized. Ordained in 1982, Tagle quickly stood out. His homilies, blending humor, scripture, and raw emotion, drew devoted followers. His academic path led to the Catholic University of America, where he earned a doctorate in theology, focusing on the Second Vatican Council's vision of a collaborative church. Yet, scholarship never distanced him from people. As Bishop of Imus, 2001 to 2011, and Archbishop of Manila, 2011 to 2019, he was famously approachable, riding public buses, inviting street children to his residence, and aiding disaster victims. In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI named him a cardinal, and in 2019, Pope Francis appointed him prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, a key Vatican role overseeing missionary work. Now, a global figure, Tagle's journey from Manila's slums to Rome's corridors positions him uniquely. His roots in the global South, where Catholicism thrives, make him a symbol of the Church's future, a future that demands a pope who understands both faith and struggle. Chapter 2. A global voice for a universal church. The Catholic Church is undergoing a seismic shift. Once centered in Europe, its heart now beats in the global South, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, where over 60% of its 1.4 billion members reside. Europe, with its emptying pews and declining vocations, is no longer the Church's future. The Philippines, with 85 million Catholics, ranks third globally after Brazil and Mexico, embodying this new reality. Luis Antonio Tagle, as a Filipino cardinal, is uniquely positioned to represent this demographic pivot, offering a voice that could realign the Church with its most dynamic communities and project its universality to a skeptical world. An Asian pope would be a historic milestone. The papacy, dominated by Europeans for centuries, with Pope Francis from Argentina as the sole non-European, has yet to see an Asian leader. Asia, home to 200 million Catholics and a rapidly growing Catholic population, is a frontier of faith. Tagle's Filipino heritage, rooted in a culture where Catholicism thrives amidst adversity, equips him to embody this region's aspirations. The Philippines is a microcosm of the global South's challenges: poverty, political instability, and natural disasters. Tagle's leadership as Archbishop of Manila, navigating these issues while fostering a vibrant church, demonstrates his ability to address the realities of developing nations, a perspective many European cardinals lack. Tagle's global appeal extends beyond demographics. Fluent in English, Italian, and Tagalog, he's a masterful communicator, adept at engaging diverse audiences. His YouTube show, The Word Exposed, attracts millions of views, blending scripture with relatable insights. His 2013 TEDx talk, where he called for a church that listens to the poor, went viral, showcasing his ability to connect with secular and religious audiences alike. At international events like the 2015 Synod on the Family, his interventions, marked by empathy and clarity, earned admiration from peers. As Pope, Tagle could leverage this media savvy to counter perceptions of a distant, dogmatic church, making Catholicism accessible in an age of digital skepticism. Moreover, Tagle's Asian perspective could address the church's Eurocentric image. Critics often view Catholicism as a Western institution, a perception that alienates potential converts in Asia and Africa. Tagle's leadership would challenge this narrative, signaling the church's universality. His Filipino upbringing, shaped by a syncretic culture blending indigenous, Spanish, and American influences, gives him a nuanced understanding of cultural diversity. This is critical in a globalized world where the church must dialogue with varied traditions while maintaining its core identity. Tagle's interfaith experience further strengthens his candidacy. Concurrent with a significant Muslim minority, has faced religious tensions. As Archbishop, Tagle fostered dialogue with Muslim leaders, earning respect for his peace-building efforts. In 2017, he joined interfaith relief efforts in Marawi, a city besieged by Islamist militants, demonstrating solidarity with Muslims and Christians alike. This aligns with Pope Francis's emphasis on interreligious harmony, seen in his 2019 Abu Dhabi Declaration. As Pope, Tagle could advance this legacy, addressing global challenges like religious extremism and fostering coexistence in regions where Catholicism is a minority faith. Tagle's global role as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples has honed his international leadership. Overseeing missionary work in Asia, Africa, and Oceania, he manages a vast network of dioceses and funds, gaining insight into the church's operations across cultures. His visits to places like Myanmar and Bangladesh, where he met with refugees and local clergy, highlight his ability to connect with marginalized communities. This experience prepares him to lead a church that must balance local needs with universal mission. Finally, Tagle's youth and energy, relative to many cardinals, equip him for the papacy's demands. At 67, he brings vigor to a role requiring global travel and engagement. His ability to inspire, seen in his packed masses in Manila and standing ovations at World Youth Days, could rekindle enthusiasm among Catholics, particularly in regions where faith is vibrant but resources are scarce. An Asian pope like Tagle would not only represent the Church's present, but also shape its future, bridging East and West, rich and poor, tradition and innovation. Chapter 3. The Pastoral Genius of Chito. Luis Antonio Tagle's pastoral genius is the heartbeat of his candidacy for the papacy. Often dubbed the Asian Francis, he shares Pope Francis's disdain for clerical pomp and passion for the marginalized, but brings a distinctive charisma, youthful, emotionally transparent, and irresistibly magnetic. If Francis redefined the papacy with his simplicity and mercy, Tagle could elevate it with a ministry that feels like a warm embrace, capable of healing a wounded church and rekindling faith in a skeptical world. His ability to connect with people, from slum dwellers to global leaders, is not just a skill. It's a gift that could transform the Church's mission. Tagle's homilies are a masterclass in pastoral communication. At the 2018 World Meeting of Families in Dublin, he recounted the sacrifices of Filipino migrant workers, mothers leaving children behind to work abroad, his voice cracking with emotion. The audience, thousands strong, was moved to tears, not by rhetoric, but by his raw empathy. In a 2013 TEDx talk in Manila, he spoke of a church that listens to the cries of the poor, weaving theology with stories of street children he'd met. The standing ovation that followed wasn't just for his words, but for his authenticity, a quality that resonates in an era where institutions are distrusted. His preaching style, infused with humor, vulnerability, and Filipino storytelling, makes complex doctrines accessible, inviting listeners to see faith as a lived experience rather than a set of rules. This emotional transparency sets Tagle apart. Unlike the stoic demeanor of some clerics, he wears his heart on his sleeve, a trait rooted in his Filipino culture where communal bonds and shared suffering are central. Stories of his pastoral acts abound, washing the feet of prisoners during Holy Thursday Masses, embracing AIDS patients in Manila's hospices, and spending nights in evacuation centers after typhoons, praying with families who'd lost everything. These aren't calculated gestures, but reflections of his Bayani Hand spirit, the Filipino ethos of community solidarity. In 2013, after Typhoon Haiyan devastated the Philippines, Tagle was among the first to arrive in Tacloban, not as a distant dignitary, but as a brother, distributing aid and listening to survivors' grief. Such moments reveal a shepherd who doesn't just preach compassion, he embodies it. Tagle's pastoral approach aligns seamlessly with Pope Francis's vision of a field hospital church, one that heals wounds before debating doctrines. He's championed issues that hit hard in the global South, like migration and climate change. In 2016, he launched a Manila-based initiative to support overseas Filipino workers, advocating for their rights and offering spiritual care. His outspokenness on environmental justice, tying it to the poor suffering in typhoon-prone Philippines, echoes Francis's Laudato Si. As Pope, Tagle could amplify these priorities, positioning the Church as a moral leader on global crises that disproportionately affect the vulnerable. His ability to engage young people is another facet of his pastoral genius. In the Philippines, where youth make up a significant portion of the Catholic population, Tagle's relatability has drawn thousands to masses and vocations. His social media presence, lively, unpretentious posts on X and YouTube resonates with a generation accustomed to digital connection. At World Youth Days, his energetic talks and impromptu interactions like singing with pilgrims have earned him rock star status. In 2019 at the Panama event, he led a spontaneous prayer with youth, his tears mingling with theirs as they sang. This ability to inspire could address the church's vocation crisis, particularly in the West, where seminaries struggle. As Pope, Tagle's youthfulness, at 67 he's younger than many cardinals, and charisma could spark a renewal of priestly and lay vocations, making the church feel alive and relevant. Tagle's emphasis on listening is a cornerstone of his ministry, critical for a church fractured by polarization. During the 2014 and 2015 synods on the family, his contributions, calling for mercy toward divorced Catholics and inclusive dialogue, bridged progressive and conservative divides. He argued that doctrine must serve people, not alienate them, a stance rooted in Vatican II's spirit of openness. This approach could unify a church split between liberals pushing for reform and conservatives defending tradition. His 2019 book, People of Mercy, articulates this vision, urging Catholics to prioritize encounter over judgment. As Pope, Tagle could lead synodal processes with the same inclusive spirit, fostering a church that listens before it lectures. His interfaith and ecumenical work further showcases his pastoral breadth. In the Philippines, where Catholics coexist with Muslims and Protestants, Tagle built bridges through dialogue and action. In 2015, he hosted an interfaith summit in Manila, bringing together leaders to address poverty collaboratively. His visits to Protestant communities, like a 2017 meeting with evangelical pastors, emphasized shared Christian values. This openness, combined with his global role overseeing missionary work, equips him to lead a church that must engage diverse faiths in a pluralistic world. As Pope, Tagle could expand Francis's interreligious initiatives like the Document on Human Fraternity, fostering peace in regions marked by religious tension. Tagle's pastoral genius lies in his ability to make faith feel personal, not institutional. Whether consoling a grieving mother or addressing a global synod, he exudes a joy that's contagious, a joy grounded in his belief that the gospel is good news for all. As Pope, this could reinvigorate parishes, draw lapsed Catholics back, and attract seekers wary of organized religion. His leadership would prove that the church can be a home, not a fortress, offering hope to a world craving connection. Chapter 4. Facing the Church's Challenges. The next Pope will inherit a Catholic Church navigating turbulent waters, declining vocations in the West, persistent financial scandals, the lingering wounds of the clergy abuse crisis, and deepening polarization between progressive and conservative factions threaten the Church's unity and credibility. Luis Antonio Tagle's track record, marked by pastoral sensitivity, administrative competence, and moral integrity, positions him as uniquely equipped to tackle these challenges. His ability to blend compassion with decisive action, honed in the Philippines and now in the Vatican, makes him a leader who can not only manage crises, but also transform them into opportunities for renewal. Below, we explore how Tagle could address each of these issues as Pope, drawing on his experience and vision to chart a path forward. Vocations, inspiring a new generation. The decline in priestly and religious vocations is one of the Church's most pressing challenges, particularly in Europe and North America. In countries like Germany and the United States, seminaries are closing, and aging clergy struggle to serve shrinking congregations. Yet, the Philippines stands as a counterpoint, producing thousands of priests, nuns, and missionaries annually, many of whom serve globally. Tagle's role in this vibrant vocational culture is no accident. As Archbishop of Manila, he prioritized youth engagement, fostering a church where young people felt seen and valued. His masses drew thousands of young Catholics, not because of obligation, but because of his relatable preaching, laced with humor, pop culture references, and stories of faith in everyday life. Tagle's digital presence amplifies his reach. His YouTube show, The Word Exposed, and active engagement on X have made him a spiritual mentor to millions, particularly Gen Z and millennials. In 2016, he launched a Manila-based youth ministry program integrating social media, music, and service projects to draw young people into church life. The result? A surge in vocational inquiries in his archdiocese. At the 2019 World Youth Day in Panama, his keynote address, where he danced with pilgrims and shared stories of his own discernment, sparked a wave of social media posts with hashtags like #Cheeto Inspires. As Pope, Tagle could scale this approach globally, using digital platforms to reach youth and encouraging dioceses to adopt creative, youth-centered ministries. Beyond inspiration, Tagle's emphasis on formation could reform seminaries. He's critiqued clericalism, the tendency for priests to see themselves as superior, advocating for training that prioritizes service, humility, and pastoral skills. In Manila, he overhauled seminary curricula to include immersion programs, sending seminarians to live with poor communities to understand their struggles. This produced priests who were not only theologically sound but also deeply empathetic. As Pope, Tagle could implement similar reforms in seminaries worldwide, addressing the vocation crisis by fostering a new generation of priests who reflect the Church's mission as a field hospital for the wounded. Clergy abuse, restoring trust with transparency. The clergy abuse crisis remains a wound that undermines the Church's moral authority. Decades of cover-ups and inadequate responses have eroded trust, with survivors demanding accountability and reform. Tagle's proactive stance on this issue makes him a credible leader to address it. As Archbishop of Manila, he implemented some of the Philippines' most robust safeguarding policies, including mandatory background checks for clergy, training for parish staff, and a victim support hotline. In 2018, he publicly apologized to survivors at a Manila healing mass, a rare gesture among bishops that earned praise from advocacy groups like SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. His emotional sincerity, tearing up as he listened to survivors' stories, demonstrated a commitment to healing, not just policy. Tagle's clean record is significant. Unlike some cardinals linked to mishandling abuse cases, he has no direct allegations of cover-up, a critical factor in a conclave where cardinals prioritize moral integrity. His global role in the Vatican has furthered his advocacy. In 2020, as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, he mandated safeguarding training for missionaries in Asia and Africa, ensuring that the Church's growth in the global South doesn't repeat the West's mistakes. His public statements, like a 2021 Vatican radio interview where he called for zero tolerance and full transparency, aligned with Pope Francis's reforms, such as Vos Estis Lux Mundi. As Pope, Tagle could accelerate these efforts. He could establish a global task force to standardize safeguarding policies across dioceses, addressing inconsistencies in regions with weaker protocols. He could also expand victim support, creating church-funded counseling and reparations programs, a step survivors have long demanded. His pastoral sensitivity, evident in his hands-on approach with survivors, would lend credibility to these reforms, showing that the church prioritizes people over its reputation. By coupling transparency with compassion, Tagle could begin to rebuild trust, a task essential for the church's evangelical mission. Financial reform, restoring integrity. The Vatican's financial scandals, ranging from opaque investments to allegations of mismanagement, have tarnished its image and fueled perceptions of corruption. Pope Francis has made strides in reform, creating oversight bodies and prosecuting misconduct. But the next pope must consolidate these gains. Tagle's simplicity and administrative experience make him a strong candidate to do so. Known for his modest lifestyle, he famously lived in a simple apartment in Manila and shunned luxury. Tagle embodies the gospel's call to poverty, signaling integrity in a way that resonates with the faithful. His administrative competence is equally compelling. As Archbishop of Manila, he managed one of the world's largest archdioceses, overseeing schools, hospitals, and charities with a budget in the tens of millions. Despite the Philippines' systemic corruption, his tenure was marked by transparency, with annual financial reports published online, a rarity among dioceses. In his current Vatican role, he manages mission funds for Asia, Africa, and Oceania, navigating complex financial systems while ensuring resources reach the poorest communities. His 2022 audit of mission accounts, which uncovered inefficiencies and led to streamlined allocations, earned praise from Vatican economists. As Pope, Tagle could build on Francis's reforms, strengthening oversight bodies like the Secretariat for the Economy and enforcing stricter auditing. He could also push for greater lay involvement in financial governance, a step Francis has begun, but which Tagle's collaborative style, rooted in Vatican II's call for co-responsibility, could advance. His ability to communicate complex issues, simply seen in his YouTube explainers on church teachings, could help demystify Vatican finances for the faithful, restoring confidence. By living and leading with integrity, Tagle could transform the Vatican's financial narrative from one of scandal to one of stewardship. Polarization, uniting a divided church. The church is increasingly polarized, with progressives advocating for reforms, e.g. women's roles, married priests, and conservatives defending traditional doctrine. This divide, evident in heated synod debates and online vitriol, risks fracturing unity. Tagle's inclusive style, grounded in Vatican II's spirit of dialogue, positions him as a unifier. His ability to articulate orthodox theology with progressive compassion, seen in his 2015 synod interventions on welcoming divorced Catholics, bridges both sides. He's orthodox in upholding church teaching, but pastoral in emphasizing mercy, a balance that appeals to diverse factions. In Manila, Tagle navigated similar tensions. The Philippines has its own progressive conservative divide, with some pushing for social justice and others prioritizing devotional practices. Tagle united these groups through listening forums, where he facilitated dialogue between activists and traditionalists. His 2017 Year of Mercy initiative, which paired doctrinal catechesis with service projects, brought both sides together in shared mission. His book, People of Mercy, 2019, reflects this approach, urging Catholics to prioritize encounter over ideology. As Pope, Tagle could deepen the synodal process, which Francis has championed as a way to foster dialogue. His experience leading Manila's synods and contributing to global ones equips him to guide contentious discussions, ensuring all voices are heard while steering toward unity. He could also address specific flashpoints like women's roles by expanding lay ministries while respecting doctrinal boundaries, a pragmatic approach that could satisfy moderates on both sides. His global perspective, shaped by the diverse needs of the Global South, would help him prioritize issues that unite, like poverty and migration, over those that divide. Additional challenges: evangelization and secularism. Beyond these core issues, Tagle is poised to tackle evangelization and secularism, challenges that define the Church's future. His missionary role has given him a front-row seat to the Church's growth in Asia and Africa, where vibrant faith communities thrive despite persecution and poverty. His 2021 initiative to train lay catechists in rural dioceses boosted evangelization in places like Papua New Guinea, a model he could replicate globally. In secular contexts, his media-savvy and relatable style, seen in viral TEDx talks and exposts, could counter apathy, making Catholicism appealing to skeptics. His 2014 address to European bishops, urging them to meet people where they are, shows his grasp of secular challenges, a skill he could deploy as Pope to re-engage lapsed Catholics. Conclusion: a Pope of joy and hope. Luis Antonio Tagle is more than a cardinal. He's a movement. His journey from Manila Street to the Vatican reflects a church in transition, one that must embrace its global identity, heal its wounds, and rediscover its mission. Tagle's roots, pastoral brilliance, and ability to tackle crises make him the ideal successor to Francis. As an Asian pope, he would break barriers, embodying the Church's universality. His joy, humility, and faith could reignite a weary institution, offering hope to a world in need. When the white smoke rises, Quito could herald a new chapter, one where the Church thrives,